All right, Jeremy Casebeer, welcome to the show, man. It's awesome I don't think we've ever met, have we?
No, I don't believe so. Lots of
This is
mutual
cool.
friends, but yeah,
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for taking the time. I know we've been struggling to get this hooked up, but I'm glad that you
all
were able
good.
to
My
find some
pleasure.
time.
Thanks for having me on.
Happy early Fourth. You got any plans for the weekend?
No, just laying low. The
Yeah,
beaches here in LA are all closed down, and we got I think like 2 weeks or so till the AVP season starts. So
yeah,
we got word about a week and a half ago. So everyone's racing to prepare.
yeah.
Thankfully, we have a home gym here, so I've been staying in shape a bit, but everyone's kind of trying to get as many touches in the sand as they can. So we'll be ready to go come July 18th.
How do you think that's going to be with no fans and the structure and everything? I mean, well, you guys
Yeah,
are looking forward to
it,
competing, of course, but like it's going
yeah,
to be interesting.
100%. Yeah, it's going to be a little strange. I definitely enjoy having fans. I was talking to a friend of mine, and like, I feel like some people might do better with it. They're just kind of maybe more cerebral, calm, mellow people, but I definitely feed off the energy. So it'd be strange to have no fans, but was curious if they're going to be pumping in like fake. I think it was the English Premier League. They had like dummies
Yeah.
in the stands and some fake cheering and stuff. So curious if they'll do that.
Yeah, that would be interesting, actually. Well, tell me a little bit about your backdrop. Tell me about how you first got into volleyball. Why? I know you grew up in Santa Barbara, and there's a good volleyball culture there. I've played many times at
Yeah.
East Beach, and just give me a little
Yes.
backdrop on your journey.
Yeah. So I grew up in Santa Barbara. I played club soccer pretty competitively most of my life, and then come high school, it just wasn't as fun. A bunch of my friends weren't on the team anymore. I was running 5, 6 miles a day after school. My sister, who's a few years older, was playing club and high school volleyball at Santa Barbara High. My dad had played at UCSB.
Hmm.
A couple of my buddies were going out for the team, so gave it a go and just fell in love. Turns out a tall, lanky kid's much better suited for volleyball than soccer, so it was just
Put you in the
fun.
goal
Yeah,
because you have long
yeah.
arms.
I got tired of guys running circles around me.
Yeah,
So yeah, I started playing indoor, and then played beach every summer, and that was kind of where I was able to kind of develop an all-around game, and kind of
yeah,
what led me to take that next step to go and play at UCLA. I wasn't really an offensive player until later in my career, so the beach definitely helped with kind of passing and setting and stuff, and general ball control.
yeah. Why UCLA? What took you to Westwood compared to staying in Santa Barbara or
Yeah. Well, I think at the time I just wanted to kind of see what was out there. Had I not grown up in Santa Barbara, I think UCSB would have had a huge draw.
yeah,
I mean, going to school right there and DP on the beach and whatnot, it's pretty amazing.
yeah,
But I wasn't, at that time, I'd only been playing for a few years. I didn't really know kind of what trajectory I could go on in volleyball. So I was mainly just focused on getting the best education possible. And I remember at that time, I think Skates had won more NCAA championships at UCLA than all other schools combined. So he had 19, and I think all the other schools had 17. So I was like, yeah, that sounds good to
yeah.
me.
Yeah, that guy's a beast. It was awesome when we had him in the gym every once in a while in the national team. It was
Yeah,
he just brought a different vibe. I mean, you know how he is. He's
yeah,
kind of a different guy, but just a great eye, and everything he said was very I hadn't played with him or for him, and so I didn't know his coaching demeanor, but he just had a really good critical eye, and anytime he talked, you'd want to listen because you knew what he was talking about.
exactly.
So
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. He like literally invented like I feel like half the game back in the 70s and 80s. Like the use of stats and stuff. And for the most, that was pretty much how he based most decisions. Like, oh, this outside's hitting 350, you're hitting 400. All right, you're in. Oh, you got made a few errors, you dropped down. So at least in that way, it was pretty clear where you stood. He didn't play favorites, and if you performed, you played, and it's pretty straightforward like that, which was cool.
yeah, any stories stand out during your time at UCLA? I mean, you probably got a few, but anything that just off the
Yeah.
top of your head, you're just like that was kind of a funny story or whatever.
I remember one of the guys brought in a case of Red Bulls one day, and Skates had 2 Red Bulls at practices, and he had a director's chair that he would literally, because I got him for his last 5 years, so I
Right,
forget how
right.
old he was. I think he was like mid to late 70s by that time.
Yeah.
So he would set up his director's chair that said skates on it. It was always a freshman's responsibility to like carefully take it in and out of the closet. So he'd, post up in his chair most of the practice, call out some critiques and stuff from his chair. And if something really jumped out, he would get out of his chair and you're like, okay. But that practice, he had 2 Red Bulls and he was just pacing up and down the sideline, so much energy. That was pretty funny.
I wonder what the crash looked like for him.
What's that?
I wonder what the end crash looked like for him.
I'm not sure. Probably hit him on the drive home.
He'd just go home and just crash out on his couch or something. That's funny.
Yeah.
When did you know that you wanted to kind of move to the beach and make beach kind of a career choice for you?
Yeah, I always preferred beach. I think I was always a better beach player. Kind of suited my game more. I did. So right when I graduated, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to try playing professionally. I remember I was reading a book, The Defining Decade, that my best friend had gotten as a graduation gift from his mom. I read it in like a day and a half, and they talked about the idea of like life capital, how you're 20, everyone always says like your 20s, you have so much time to explore and do things. And while that's true, it's also the experiences you have in your 20s set you up for later in life. So there's a big difference between like volunteering or going overseas or something versus working at Starbucks. And the idea of traveling the world, playing beach volleyball, I've heard of all these tours, Brazil, Australia, Germany, and that seemed pretty enticing. So in the back of my mind, I just kind of decided, give this a shot, see where it takes me. And as long as I'm enjoying it and getting better and, able to support myself, we'll go from there. And that first summer I played on the AVP. And then I actually went to Puerto Rico. And I had a contract in a kind of small city, I forget which one. And I was practicing with Dave McKenzie on the beach, and he was like, "Oh, you're going to Puerto Rico? Oh, they're paying you this much? I can get you $8,000 more." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Sure." I'm like, "All right, well that sounds better." So he set me up in Guaynabo, and like the very first week, though, I like jumped into their training program, and I had been doing all beach and mainly like agility and stuff. So jumping into like heavy back squats, I tweaked my back, and then I ended up being there for like a few weeks, kind of in limbo, and then they decided they needed an opposite more than an outside. So when that fell through, I decided to go and play in Australia on their pro tour. I was good friends with Stein Metzger. He had kind of taken me under his wing at the time. He had just retired and was coaching John Mayer and Brad Keenan and a couple other guys. So I was kind of like his training, his brasso, as we would say in Brazil, kind of his like assistant. I'd side out or block or serve, whatever they need. And he would just be raving about Australia. So I went there for 5-6 months, played the Australian tour, and then also went to New Zealand for a month and played 3 tournaments there, kind of bounced around, and then went traveling after. So that was kind of my gap year, I guess, right out of school. And after that, I was absolutely hooked.
You're hooked, yeah. So you spent quite a bit of time in Brazil, right? Your wife is Brazilian, is that right?
Yeah. So I've been going down there the last 5-6 years, basically year round. So the Brazilian season coincides complete opposite of the AVP, which works out really well.
Because the hemisphere, right? Because our winter's their summer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would come and play. So as soon as AVP season ends in the fall in mid to late September, I'd go straight to Brazil, play on the Brazilian tour, get to train in Rio, and got to train with like some of the best Brazilian players, Olympians from 2016. Pedro Solberg and Evandro, and then basically play on their tour year round, and then go until mid-December, take a week or 2 off for Christmas, and then start up first week of January full on. And that would go until May. I'd literally finish the last tournament in Brazil and then come straight to the first tournament on the AVP. So
dude, that sounds like an indoor calendar.
Yeah, kind of. Man.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you go play overseas for the fall and the winter, then you come immediately back and you got to jump right into the national team. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it was just cool to see a different take because Americans have like such a distinct style to beach volleyball. The culture, the way we train, it's a lot more individualistic. There's not as much of a team kind of atmosphere. You know, some of the top teams will have a coach, but in Brazil, it's really common to have a head coach or two head coaches,
Interesting.
you know, two assistant coaches or brassos, guys that literally just arms. They're there to just crush balls at you and serve. You know, it's all fenced in with nets, so there's like minimal shagging. It's just hyper efficient, really fast training. So it's like a totally different rhythm. So it's really cool to see how both cultures have kind of different approaches to the way they train. And, you know, there's like positives and negatives to both sides.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of eye-opening to see what the best Brazilian players did, what their day looked like versus kind of how it's been done in America.
Were they interested in understanding how the beach culture was in the U.S. as well from you? Like, did they have questions for you as well around how you train and things like that?
Yeah, there's some give and take for sure. But I actually preferred their style more just because, like, I remember the very first day at practice, it was like a warm-up blocking drill. Coach was on the box on the other side of the net. Defenders were doing something on the other side. They were just getting reps on reps on reps. And then within the first 5 minutes, I had literally jumped and blocked more balls than I would in like an hour and a half, 2-hour practice. I was like, well, multiply that out 5-6 days a week for 11 and a half months out of the year, like you're gonna get good pretty fast. So
you'll be in good shape too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing too, is like they train 5-6 days a week. If it's raining, they pull out the old balls. It's just like, because it's a whole team, you know, like everyone's in it together and they're like committed to like one like long-term vision, whereas the top teams in the US are for sure like that, but you know, in the qualifier or whatever, there's lots of switching and stuff. So and so it's just interesting to see a different level of like training and different style.
How many guys would you see typically on a court down there practicing together?
It would be really rare to see two teams practicing together. It's almost always one team and then there are 2, 3, 4 coaches running the drills. So instead of like, you know, if you hire a coach in LA, you could be like, all right, I want to work on my side out game. Coach serves you a ball, pass set, high line. Oh, did you feel this? Or you notice that you're a little off balance, whatever. The coach kind of talks about it for, 30 seconds or whatever, and then serve again. Versus there, it's like you go straight for 2 or 3 minutes, you hit 15, 20 high lines, and then you talk about it after. It's just like a whole nother tempo and rhythm, which is really cool and really interesting to see.
That is interesting.
Did you ever play in Brazil?
I mean, I've played many times down there, in tournaments, but never played in the pro leagues down there. It would have been cool. It was tough as a foreigner to play down there because they didn't allow too many foreigners in the league. And so when it's like that, especially as a middle, my position,
they've got so many huge athletic guys too.
Yeah, it's like they're not really looking for a lot of middles. Mostly, if they're going to look for, you're going to be some big opposite, or you're going to be a really good outside, or maybe a good setter or somebody like that. But yeah, so I never was able to go play there. But I always enjoyed being down there because it's just the lifestyle, the way, the passion around volleyball too is just super infectious.
Exactly.
And like, I mean, we've had tournaments there when we've been in front of 20, 25,000 people. It's just crazy. So cool. And super easy to get up for a match like that, especially when you're playing against Brazil too. And a lot of good battles down there. It's been fun. Tell me about winning your first AVP title last year in Seattle, beating Jake and Taylor. How was that?
It was epic. It was really, really cool. Obviously I'd been working towards that pretty much my entire career, professionally. So it was really cool too, because the majority of my family was there and we have some family friends up there. So we had a little cheering crowd going, and it's just one of those tournaments where everything kind of came together, just felt right. And finally I played Jake and Taylor, I don't know how many times over the last 2 or 3 years, and gotten them a couple times, but they're obviously a really tough team to beat. So it was just a really special moment.
That's cool.
It was interesting though. I was thinking about when I was listening to your podcast with Reed, talking about the Olympics and stuff. Obviously it's not the same thing, but it's something you're working towards, kind of long-term goal, and then finally achieved it. And it felt incredible, and to have like a nice family dinner after and celebrate with like friends and family was great, but it was also like very fleeting, like there's a tournament in 2.5 weeks after, and it's kind of right back to work. So it was amazing.
No one's going to even be talking about this for too much longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, all right, great, we got one, but then you know, we're still in the main draw next tournament and got to get back to work and try and do it all over again. So it's just interesting, like working towards that for so long, and felt great to finally get there. But you know, it's not the end goal. There's a whole nother half of the season left.
Yeah, two things that come to mind as you say that. First of all, look, I mean, people ask me all the time, what did it feel like to win a gold medal? And a large part of me wants to say it just felt kind of validating, because like you put in so much work. You know what I mean? You've been on the tour for so long. You've been grinding and grinding and grinding. And then to finally win, you're like, okay, like this is a big deal for me, because it's almost signaling like, okay, it was all worth it. Like, I know I can get here and I've actually done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that part of it's cool. But to your other point is so true as well, because people, especially in the US, were so driven by success and winning stuff that there's almost an under-escalation or under-emphasis on a journey that it took for someone to get there. And the end result of winning, whatever it ends up being, was just kind of that, right? It's just kind of the end result, but it doesn't really take into account everything that you've been through, like grinding and hustling and trying to get to that point, which is really what it took to get there. And so I don't know, it's interesting to look at success in a different lens than we typically do as Americans, because we're kind of like used to being hyper successful, right? It's like we go to the Olympics, we always have the highest medal count. And so it's just kind of like, oh, you went to the Olympics? Like, how many medals did you win? It's like, no, you don't understand how hard it is to actually win a medal.
Really difficult.
And so I don't know, like I kind of thought of that as I was watching, because I watched the last couple of points of you winning that. And I was just thought, you know what, this is cool for him. And I'm sure he feels like a great sense of relief. Like, okay, I can do it. I can compete at this level, but don't underestimate or emphasize all of the steps that it took for me to get here.
Oh
because
man,
it's been a journey.
So many hours. Because literally like 10 years of playing professionally, and the last 5 or 6 were literally 11.5 months straight or whatever. But yeah, and it was interesting too, because there's, I think 1.5 years or 2 years ago, I had to play in like the Brazil qualifiers because points issues or whatever, and like lost in a qualifier to a team I definitely shouldn't have. Felt way better than them, but like, you know, in some obscure Brazilian city, losing in a qualifier, I'm like, man, what am I doing? Like, is this the right thing? You know, like I'm sure every beach volleyball player and indoor player, you know, those lonely moments overseas, you're like, man, should I just like hang it up and like, you know, go back to a normal traditional job? But so damn glad I didn't.
Yeah, amen to that, man. So I've read a lot about you. You're passionate about sustainability. What does being a climate responsible athlete mean to you? Like, what's your responsibility in that as you look at that bigger picture?
Yeah, so I studied in environmental studies at UCLA and was considering kind of jumping into a proper, you know, career in it, but decided to play professionally. So I've always been looking for ways to kind of bring sustainability and climate change discussions to the beach volleyball world. And so I'm fortunate. I've been working with AVP and a local nonprofit, Sustainable Surf, that helped the World Surf League with some of the greening of their tour. And we had a plan in place, and then COVID hit. So that got put on the back burner, and I'm grateful we're going to have 3 tournaments, but unfortunately we're not able to put the climate action plan into effect this year. So basically looking for ways to bring sustainability into beach volleyball. So for myself, I did a carbon assessment in 2019, basically looked at all my flights I took, all the miles I drove, my utilities at home and stuff to kind of understand my impact. And then with Sustainable Surf, they have a program called Sea Trees, which partners with offsetting projects around the world. They plant mangroves in Southeast Asia. They have a local program here in Palos Verdes planting kelp, which is the fastest growing plant in the world. It grows like 2 or 3 feet a day. So by planting mangrove trees and kelp, you're able to offset your emissions. So basically taking the time to do a carbon assessment, understand what your impact is, and then trying to reduce it as much as you can. Common sense things that most people know: walking or riding your bike when possible, carpooling, avoiding flights when possible, eating a little bit less meat here and there. And then what you can't reduce or mitigate, then offset it. So that's basically the structure that most of the books. I actually started going back to school at UCLA this past September to get a certificate in sustainability, and that's kind of the structure that everyone advocates: to take the time to understand your impact, reduce it, and then offset what is unavoidable.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool, man. Did you watch Game Changers on Netflix?
No, I haven't yet. I listened to a number of podcasts that were
man.
interesting. It's crazy controversial. There's so
Dude,
many.
You gotta watch Game Changers, man. You'll love it because it blends exactly into what you're talking about. But the story is phenomenal. How the MMA guy, I'm blanking on his name right now, but his story is just some of the things that he does, just switching to, a plant-based diet and going vegan, and just all the data that they put into the documentary. It's super convincing and really well done. You should check it out.
Yeah. But that's one of the things too, like the more I'm talking to climate change professionals, and sustainability professionals the last few months, and through school, it doesn't need to be a radical transformation, just taking small daily steps day to day, and, having conversations with friends and family. Like, it's just little things that kind of build up over time. If everyone can be 10% better, that makes a massive impact. So just trying to find the ways to get the beach volleyball community involved. And then I was also coaching at UCLA this year with Stein Metzger and Triple J. And we were working to make the team climate neutral as well, basically looking at the team's flights and miles they've driven. Unfortunately, that got put on pause as well. But that would be very cool to also work with, because it's such a small community. I mean, I know coaches at UCLA, Berkeley, Stanford, USC, LMU. So, and it's really a lot more affordable than people think. So, that's in the works for the later half of 2020 and moving into 2021.
That's cool, man. I wish you luck on that. It's a worthy cause. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I saw that you also recently got into photography. Where, like, best place that you've been picture wise so far? Where have you been where you're just like, whoa, these are good?
Yeah, that's a tough question, then. So I've been spending the last 5 years in Rio. Rio is very picturesque.
Yeah.
It's got its big city, interesting street scenes. It's got beautiful beaches, forests, waterfalls, all of that. I also love the Pacific Northwest. It's been cool going up there to Seattle the last 5 or 6 years with the tour, and then getting to explore around there. Absolutely stunning. It's also just fun taking it on kind of day to day, and then also some of the other AVP tournaments, Chicago.
Yeah.
Have a friend out there, Michael Gomez, who's a professional photographer, and just all the photographers on tour. Robert Beck, Ampu, Josh Glazebrook, get to pull out my camera in between matches or on down days and kind of sit next to them and kind of pick their mind. So, but I definitely, if I could be anywhere, it's out in nature, hiking or backpacking and taking some shots. So,
what's on your bucket list for a destination to do some photography?
Definitely Aurora Borealis. Probably Iceland, or cool. I mean, the Falkland Islands is off the coast of Norway, and basically all of Scandinavia seems incredible. So that would definitely be up there.
Yeah, I spent some time in Finland, and we played quite a bit there. It's just an interesting place. We were there right in the middle of summer, and so, I mean, it was bright sunshine at 1 a.m. People were out walking around, and everything was open. Yeah. It was just crazy. And then, it get dark for a couple hours and then immediately get light again. But then, if you're there the other side, you only get a couple hours of light.
Perpetual dark.
Totally. What do you see yourself doing after your beach career? Do you feel like coaching is an avenue that you want to continue down, or is there something else that you want to get into what you're studying from a sustainability standpoint? What do you think that looks like?
Yeah. I'm kind of keeping my options open. I really enjoyed getting to coach at UCLA with Stein there, and the team was incredible. And it was really nice to be back on campus. I've been traveling so much the last few years, so it's kind of nice to reconnect with the UCLA community. I think I could definitely do that, but I also will eventually transition to sustainability, kind of at the intersection of sustainability and business. I'm really interested in the B Corporation movement. So that's basically like a third-party certification, kind of how fair trade works. Companies legally change the legal structure of their companies, so they're not just focusing on maximizing shareholder value, but they also look on the impact on society, their customers, their workers, and the environment. So trying to make business a force for good. So I'm pretty bullish on the business community for driving change.
I like that. I know I work now as a business consultant, and we work with a lot of organizations all over the world, and sustainability is becoming a very hot topic for most of them. If you're a credible brand, global brand, and sustainability is not in your strategic plan, you're pretty rare. So it's good that it's taken some limelight in the business community.
Yeah, it's basically a requirement to operate now. So and it's really interesting too. The last obviously month has been pretty crazy, but I've been focused so much on the sustainability side and less so on the social justice side, and just to see how they both connect. You can't really pursue one without the other. So it's been cool to spend some time listening and reading and seeing how they intersect and can benefit each other.
Like that. What do you like most about the game of beach volleyball right now?
That's a tough question. How do you mean? I feel like there's a lot of ways I can do that.
You look at the state of the game, you look at the level of the game right now. Does anything stand out to you where you're just like, that's got a lot going for it? What pieces of the game do you think have a lot going for it?
I feel like it's really just progressing towards really high level skill and crazy athleticism. Like you're seeing guys running just about everyone hand sets. If you're not hand setting, you're behind the curve. Just about at least every blocker and most defender are ripping jump serves. So people are just getting crazy, Blockers are doing more and more exaggerated moves outside their body, show and takes, kind of drag and reaches, like versus kind of straight up vanilla line, vanilla angle. And then, options on two, fake an option, shoot set across the court. It's just becoming it's just fun, It's fun. I've been running a number of clinics the last few years, and it's fun to introduce that to kind of the middle or upper level juniors, being able to run quick sets and back sets and shoot sets and not have to worry about making errors, So just experimenting with that.
Yeah, the evolution, the innovation of the game right now, I think is really interesting. I think because the talent level is growing outside of Brazil and the US, how now you've got, like you got.
Europe is stacked.
Oh man, they got all these guys and they're doing all these cool things, which are pushing the boundaries and which is really what you need to promote change in something, right? You need someone doing something different, show people that it's working, and then you're thinking, oh, well, let me incorporate that into my game and see what works and what doesn't. And so I totally agree. I think just the evolution of the game is so fascinating right now.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Adrian Carambola play?
No.
He's an American, played on the AVP for a while. In the last 4 or 5 years, he's been in Italy. He's like a 6-foot lefty, insane ball control, hand on eye, like the most skilled player you've ever seen. He has a sky ball. But I got to train with him for a month or so in Rio last year. And he doesn't like sky. He's got great ball control and the hand on ball, but he just does things like he gets points in the most unconventional ways. Like he'll set the ball over, cut shot on one, or he'll bump the ball over. Just like, if for anyone out there that's curious on like what the next level is in beach volleyball and the progression, just YouTube Adrian Carambola highlights some of the stuff he does. When I was blocking against him, I was just like spinning circles in practice. So many different like feints and slants and stuff. It was cool.
I hated those types of setters indoors when you had no idea where they were going and like everybody is coming at you at the same time. And in the middle, you're like, what do I do right now? I have like 5 guys coming at me and they're all coming super fast. You know what I mean? I
cannot imagine being a middle blocker, even in college, let alone at like professional or Olympic level. Like that's like the worst job ever. Most people probably least amount of love.
I appreciate that.
Read a quick set and shoot set, like God, that's gotta be so difficult.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It takes a long time to figure it out, but it's fun when you figure it out. what do you look for the most in a partner?
Good question. I think that basically you got to be on the same page, working towards the same goal, both same commitment level, both like for myself, like I've never been like a naturally gifted volleyball player. Like if I take a month off, I'm going to be absolutely tragic. So I need to be training hard. I need to be getting reps. So yeah, just someone on the same page, works hard, wants to get after it. And I feel like it's a lot of cliches kind of come into play, but like someone with a growth mindset, like if I make an error in practice or in a match, like it's all right. Hey, let's go. Let's get the next one. Yeah. I've never understood partners that just like rail on their partners. That there's very few people that respond well to that. So I'm definitely more of a positive player, but yeah, just making sure you're on the same page and kind of have the same, want to go in the same direction, see the game in a similar way.
That's cool. All right, I want to ask you kind of a little bit of rapid fire questions. Some of them will be a little more rapid fire than others, but so you get to pick anyone at any time, and everybody's in their prime.
No, I heard this on Reed.
Who's your all-time partner? Like you could pick anyone in their prime anytime.
Oh, man.
Pick as your partner.
I mean, I feel like saying Karch is kind of a cop-out, but how do you not say? Yeah, I mean, like you have to. Like, yeah,
Karch, Reed, they all picked Phil in his prime. Because I mean, I don't know if we've ever seen anyone as dominant as Phil in his prime, but I don't know how your guys' game complements each other from a partnership standpoint. Maybe it would. I don't know, but Karch obviously.
Yeah, I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. Being able to play a tournament with Karch would be pretty epic.
Yeah. So the question then becomes, if you had to pick a team to play against, that would just be gnarly competition. So it's you and Karch at your primes. Who are you going to play against, and where? If you could pick anywhere in the world too.
Okay. I would probably have to go Jake and Taylor. I've had so many battles against them, and
that's good.
To be able to partner with Karch and go at it and just battle would be epic. And to do it in Rio and Ipanema would be pretty epic too.
Yeah, that's good. What's a trait you most dislike about yourself?
Oh, good question. I could probably be a little more organized. If I could become more OCD later in life, that would be good. I feel like the kind of go with the flow nature kind of suits beach volleyball just because you have to adapt when you miss a flight or partner gets injured, or you have to kind of roll with it. But yeah.
Okay. How about the trait you most dislike in others? Is anything irk you that people do?
People that don't work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if things don't go your way, but you can always put in effort and have a good attitude while you do it. So, yeah.
I'm with you on that one. Have you ever had any near-death experiences?
Oh, I've definitely had a lot of stitches growing up. Straight near death, knock on wood. No, nothing too crazy. Yeah. Definitely a number of ER visits, couple broken bones, but no.
Did Reed ever tell you about his head injury?
Dude, that was not – it was an elbow to the face, right? And then some
swelling. Elbow was that you? No, it wasn't me, thank goodness. He'd still be railing me if it was me. But it was totally freaking – I mean, it was just kind of like – it wasn't middle, and it was kind of drifting in, and his elbow just right to his – I think it was kind of like right here. And then he cracked his skull, went all the way back behind his ear. He had to have a plate put in there. I don't know if you ever talked to him about it. It was gnarly.
Yeah, he did. And then
messed with his eyesight a little bit, I think, for a while. And
that's wild.
Yeah. If you never got into volleyball, what would you be doing right now, you think?
Working in sustainability.
Yeah. You think it was just something that was just it's in your soul. It's just a part of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up basically in Santa Barbara. We're really fortunate at the mountains and the ocean. And grew up surfing, going to the beach, camping a lot. And then, so I had a kind of natural connection with the outdoors and being in nature. And then I had really cool teacher my senior year at Santa Barbara High that just AP environmental science class, and he just kind of painted a picture of like current state of things and kind of the need to take action. And we took a trip out to Santa Cruz Island to the research post out there. We built a greenhouse to plant endemic species, take out invasive species, and it was just so cool. We're right around an old 1970 Chevys 4x4s, basically a pristine, untouched island, exploring all over. And it was just cool to see what California would have looked like kind of before everything else. And that class and that experience just kind of cemented it for me.
Wow, that's cool. Dream vacation, where are you going?
Oh, I guess. I mean, part of me just wants to go like, I don't know, Tahiti and go surf. Yeah. The other part wants to go to like Iceland and go explore and take some photos, maybe surf in like a 5'6" wetsuit. But I'll say Iceland. I've been talking about that for a while, so it'd be cool to check that one off.
Iceland's like becoming like, you hear a lot about Iceland being a destination spot nowadays. So I would love to go to Iceland. I think it'd be super cool. Tahiti would be cool too. I would say Bora Bora. That's just something for me. I like also the ocean and the beach, and so, but Iceland would be cool. Is your last meal on Earth? What are you gonna get? What's like your? You get to pick it.
Tri-tip, Caesar salad, garlic bread, and garlic mashed potatoes. Just a family staple. That's like every birthday dinner. So I can't go wrong.
That's a good one. How about a movie where you teared up?
Oh, nothing recently. There's definitely been a few.
Nobody's seen anything recently.
Yeah, I know. Everything recently, like we're just flying through movies and shows. We're kind of at the bottom of the barrel. Nothing's coming to mind, but there's definitely been a few.
You a Netflix guy?
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
So have you watched there's a show called Afterlife by Ricky Gervais? No. That one will hit you hard. It's like, I tell people all the time, it's a fantastic show. It's really well done. It's just like in the same show, you'll cry like 5 times, but then you'll die laughing like 5 times. Because it's Ricky Gervais, and so he's like super funny, but then it's really powerful too. And so you're just kind of like crying and bawling at the same time. It's really interesting emotions.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good comedian. They just find like the honest truth and the funny, the heavy,
It's totally how the show is. It's called Afterlife. Check it out. It'll get you. Cool. It's totally super, super real. If you've ever dealt with any kind of loss, like it just hits you really hard. All right, we'll do a little word association here. So I'll say a word or a couple words, and then you just tell me the first thing that pops in your head, all right?
All right.
Let's see. Ocean.
Ocean, surf.
How about sweat?
Work.
That's good. How about knucklehead?
Lots of people, but no one specifically. That's like my favorite. Like I just think of like your classic 55-year-old dad. Like, that little knucklehead. Just talking like the best way to describe a little punk of a kid.
I asked Rich Lamborn, I said knucklehead. He said Dave McKenzie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
How about genius?
Oh, Yuval Noah Harari. He's the author of Sapiens, Homo Deus, and 21 Lessons from 21st Century. A couple of really good books.
Brilliant guy.
He's like a 400-page book that he ties like the last 70,000 years of history to present day. It covers like economics.
Wow.
Anthropology. It just covers everything, and it's like a page turner. So I got a lot out of that and thoroughly enjoyed it.
What's the name of that again?
Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Highly recommended.
How about your happy place?
Friends and family, wherever that is. California, Brazil, all of the above.
How about funniest on tour?
Funniest on tour. I think Billy Allen's like really funny. He's just got the driest humor. Like it'll hit you after a few seconds, but yeah, he's always got a little quiet grin on his face.
How about taxes?
Taxes, no thank you. It's always a nightmare. Always put to the last minute. Yeah.
What about
Necessary,
greatest of all time?
Greatest of all time. Oh man, that's a tough one. It should be easy, but I don't know. My mind just goes in a lot of different directions. I mean, volleyball's Karch, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm curious if when that conversation switches to Carrie, and has she taken that spot, which you could argue very heavily she has. Sure.
I mean, it's pretty absurd what she's done.
Oh yeah, it's incredible, and for so long too. It's pretty gnarly. I don't know. I mean, when I hear greatest of all time, I also kind of think of Karch, but I think of Karch because Karch was, for me, I was growing up and Karch was the guy, and so in my mind, I'm just thinking, it's like Kobe thinking of who the greatest of all time is, and he would say Jordan because that's who he kind of was idolizing growing up, right? Carrie's still doing the thing, and so I think maybe when she gets to a place, then she'll be, I would think that she would potentially be put on that pedestal because I just don't see anybody doing what she's done for a while.
And especially like looking at the progression of the last, 5-10 years, it's like with Europe catching up, there's so many good teams. The idea of three-peating, like that's just
gnarly.
That's wild.
Karch, I interviewed Karch and he said something that I'd never thought of. And I can't believe I've never thought of it because it makes so much sense. I said, he's still the only person to ever win gold on the beach and indoor. And I asked him, I said, will someone eventually do that? And he said, yes.
No way.
And I thought, yeah, but then listen to what he said. This blew my mind. He said, to me, that's not really the pinnacle. And I'm like, what? He goes, I want to see someone do it in the same Olympics. And I'm thinking, holy cow, that's another level athlete. To be able to do that, I think.
No way. It's just.
That's why you've never fathomed it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone's so specialized now. Like, I don't know, the timing, like, they're two different sports, lots of similarities, lots of similar skills, but like, that would be absolutely bonkers. That would be. If someone could do that, that's hands down greatest of all time.
Oh yeah, that would be easily, like, you can't even touch that. I can't even fathom somebody trying that. Then you look at like someone like Catherine Plummer from Stanford, who obviously is incredible indoor, 2-time National Player of the Year indoor, and then also equally or even better on the beach. And I don't know if it's going to take someone, I mean, in my mind, it takes someone like double her even to be able to do something like that. And she's already really special. And so I'm like, when he said that, I was just kind of like, holy cow.
Yeah, maybe it's more possible on the women's side too, because they play at such a high level indoor and then they just jump right into beach season. Like that was the interesting thing too, is like having a preseason for, grinding for 3 months with all the beach only athletes, and then a handful of athletes from the indoor team came over and just jumped into it, and they were really, really damn good. So I think that might, if there is a possibility, maybe it's a crossover from, that got used to it during college on the women's side.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, so like my first Olympics was in 2000 and Carrie was there indoor. She was on the national team indoor. And then in 2004 is when her and Misty went on the tear. But like, who knows? She could have been that because if they had won in 2000, then she would have had 4 golds and a bronze. It's just gnarly to think about. So I don't know. I just thought that was crazy when they said that, because I'd never even thought about that, not even conceived something like that. So, but anyways, well, you passed the test, man. Nice job.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Appreciate you taking time, and good luck with the upcoming. I don't know what are they calling it? Series?
Champions Cup.
Champions Cup. Yeah. Good luck. And how many teams do you guys know?
6 automatically in, and then 2 through the qualifier, so 8 per.
Very cool.
Total.
It's all in Long Beach. Is that right? Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be watching online like everyone else because I can't be there. So
Yeah. Right on,
good luck.
man.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Good luck with all your ventures. You want to promote anything? You got people want to reach out on social media and try to dive into your guys' efforts?
At Shakespeare on Instagram, also pre-active on LinkedIn. Please reach out. And if you want to collaborate, you have some cool ideas on how to bring sustainability in sports, more than happy to talk.
That's cool. All right, man. Jeremy, thanks. Appreciate it.
Right on. Thanks, Ryan.
Take care.
See ya.